Friends, it's me, Mary Jo, and I am going to just go through the material and resources that I hope to share at the sketchbook session. Here we go. So it was called Breakfast with Your Sketchbook. So you can watch this in the morning and have some coffee and breakfast with it. Here's my smoothie right here. It's pretty good. So these are just some resources, and I didn't want to go without sharing it because I was pretty excited about what I compiled. And then, if you have any interest or if you try any of these things, please feel free to post them in the artwork feedback group on Facebook. So the first thing is to think about visual brainstorming, and visual brainstorming is a way to gather ideas in a visual format. I mean, even making a list is visual brainstorming. Anytime you take what's in your mind and put it down on paper or out into the world so someone else can see it, I consider that visual brainstorming. So types of visual brainstorming would be list making. And at this point, I will, create a list with you as the participants in the group. But some other things to think about are like flow charts or diagrams or just drawing pictures or, think about other ways to visually brainstorm. And I welcome you to even create a list and post it on the Facebook for other people to see. How to brainstorm. So these ideas, I didn't invent this. These are some ideas that I have been taught or have read about, focusing on quantity. So I know that sounds crazy, but just get your ideas out there. The quality, sometimes we have bad ideas and sometimes we have good ideas. And sometimes our ideas are not fully formed, or sometimes they are great ideas that fall flat, or they're what you think is a bad idea, and it can be elaborated on and expanded. So withhold criticism and welcome ideas that you would not normally welcome. If you're a person who paints figurative painting and you're, thinking about brainstorming and you're trying to get out of your usual thoughts and expand a little bit, maybe you want to think about ways to represent the figure in different ways, or you are thinking about other materials or no figure at all. Like, what does it look like when you create a space that should have an image in it, should have a person in it, and then they're not there? What does that do? So just, really like asking questions and then combining ideas or looking at your old ideas. Right here, I have a stack of sketchbooks. And there are ideas in there and that have never seen the light of day, but maybe I would take one of those and create a visual brainstorm from it so that I can expand and improve upon it. So some examples. So I want to give you some examples. I don't want to make this video too terribly long. So I'm just going to go through these, and they all have, I have cited all the resources where I got these things. So, and I will put the links also in the Facebook group and on my Art of Facebook, because then you can go and explore these things for yourself. The session would have been relatively short, 40 minutes anyway. So the idea was to share out some more resources and then to see what you all do. So the first example is sketchnoting. If you are a teacher or a educator of any kind, sketchnoting will really help your visual students, your students who like to draw, your students who like to doodle, but it'll also expand the thinking of all students because you are asking them to draw things out. The first thing you have to do, though, is to let go of whether it's good or bad drawing. Some of you will be able to draw, a little book, just like in the upper right-hand corner of this image. And some people it'll look like a rectangle with lines on it. It doesn't matter. It's a representation of a thought. So here's some examples of like ways that you can use sketchnoting. It's really creating a visual library. It uses symbols, pictures, and images along with the words to document. This is how I take notes, and I didn't know there was a name for it until recently. I use a lot of arrows and circles and, can create visual connections on the page. So I'd be happy to talk more about this and even just have a whole session on this, and also brainstorm ways that this can be used with students, because, like in the sciences, there are visual journals. I know in math, their teachers are using journaling, and I think it helps to solidify ideas for yourself, for students, for learners of all kinds. The next one was to create a mood board. So a mood board would have other items on it, and it's to create a theme. So you could sketch note while you're watching a TV show and sketch out the whole thing. A mood board doesn't always have a beginning and an end. It's creating kind of an aesthetic. And so mood boards are used in fashion design very often. But also you could do a mood board just for your own aesthetic, or maybe you're trying to expand your ideas about a project, and you know that it's going to be about travel. And so, or you've just come home from a trip. You could put ephemera from that trip, or a map, or plane tickets, or tickets to a museum, or images that you took, or places you want to go. Sometimes creating a mood board can help to spark an idea of how you can use that aesthetic sensibility and what it looks like to create something else. So this is another way to visually brainstorm, and you could do this right in a sketchbook. Just real quick, I know I said I didn't want to make this a very long video, but here is kind of just like an image, a collage of images. Now it's a lot of Art Nouveau, also because that's what I like, but this one includes pictures that I took, pictures that I found and cut away, a map, and then a piece of fabric. And these things together create, it may be something that I just put together because I like the way those things look together, but then it could also spark an idea. All right, so mood board is the second one. The third one is creating a spider diagram or a flow chart. So starting with an idea in the center, say, I really want to make work about neighborhoods. And then off of that, bursting out with ideas. So diagramming your ideas. And then in that diagram, which isn't so different from sketchnoting, you could add images, you could add, block out parts of this diagram as more important than others, or to draw your attention. So I want to show you an example of something like that, so this is a spider diagram, and then I just, used art materials to make it more appealing. It actually doesn't really have a center. I guess I started here with the word memories, and then this is actually starting to help map out for my dissertation study. So I started with an idea in the center. Here's another one, with a variety of different centers. And then off of those, I color coded it. So, this one is the center, and then interest was in purple. And then there's a bunch of different interests around it. And this is actually kind of that was a culturegram about my own identity. And it really helped me there's no pictures drawn on it, but there's a lot of, I focus on the visual, focusing on color. If you'd like to pause the video, I'm going to go to another one, but let me give you a second to pause because it's a lot. And you can always come back to this video. Let's see. This one is data visualization. So the first step in data visualization is to collect data. That data can be collected in so many different ways. It could be that you are collecting data on something very, how many times a day do I, or how often do I walk? I want to collect the data on my exercise regimen and So you might write down how much you walk, how far you walk, how you felt while you were walking. And for each of those data points, you create symbols or images. This is something that I love. It's again creating your own visual vocabulary. And I have some really great books and resources on this too. This is something that I'm focusing on moving forward. So this image on the left is in a data visualization using color and shape. And it's kind of documenting out almost like a calendar. So if you use Google Calendar and you look at it in different ways, like sometimes you can look at it by the hour, sometimes you can look at it by the day, the week. That is a way to visualize your data. And it sounds scientific and complicated, but it's actually very creative, and you can really start to expand. I think I could do a whole session on it, and I plan on it at some point soon. And if there's link, like I said, I'll share the link so you can explore it some more. So here are the links. I'm going to actually put these links in the post, and I thank all of these places where I got these artists, these thinkers, these writers, because your projects and your websites have helped me to come up with resources to share. And again, there's one on Sketchnotes, one on Moodboards, and these are not the only resources for these things. One on spider diagramming, one on data visualization, and then I included this Dear Data project, which is super fascinating. And I implore you to check it out. So moving forward, if you want some inspiration and some ideas for moving your sketchbook practice in a new direction, not just drawing pictures, but also really expanding your ideas, then think about choosing one of the methods to start with. Don't get overwhelmed. Choose one. Sketchnoting really stood out to you. Use that and try it once and see what you think. You could also invent your own. These are not the only ways to brainstorm, but I wanted to give some ideas. Things you could do to get started rather than thinking, how about doing? So start by collaging, start by doing something similar. This is an entire notebook filled with sort of like combined images and collaging. And this was something that I used in some fashion design classes that I took, and coming up with new ways to create visuals. It can help just collaging things together. You could start by brainstorming in a spider diagram, which again, like this book started with that. And then there's a lot of other data, like ways to visualize information in here. Take notes on something using Sketchnotes. Sit when you're watching a TV show or a movie or a news story, take notes. Taking good notes takes practice, and that is one way to get good at it. And so I'd love to know, maybe you could post in the Facebook group, where do you think you'll start? Did you start? And if you did, are you willing to share ideas that you have brewing in your mind? I would love to know. And also, if you're comfortable, I would love to see what you're doing. And I also want to know if you'd like more sessions, maybe on some of these topics a little more focused. And if so, when is a good time for you? Because I'd like to be able to have some, choose a time that works for people. So thank you for watching. I know this was long. Feel free to pause. Feel free to stop watching. If you watched till the end, you're the best. And I am really honored that you spent this time with me. Thank you.